Dr. Robb Kelly, PhD, is a sought after recovery expert who believes in treating the causes of addiction and not the symptoms. Dr. Kelly has appeared on The Doctors, Eye Opener, Good Morning Texas, and Ken's Five Morning News. He is a frequent contributor to The Jim Bohannon Show, Miracles in Recovery, USA Today, and has participated in McLean Hospitals, which is Harvard Medical School's study on the stigma associated with mental illness. Dr. Kelly hosted Sober Celeb Show on KLIF Radio in Dallas and currently hosts the Breaking Through Addiction podcast. Dr. Robb, welcome to the Fieldswell podcast.
Thank you, Lauren. Great to be here. Hey, guys, sit down. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. Buckle up. So Sandy Scarlotta of Happiness Solved recommended we chat. So I want to shout out to her because I'm very grateful. You have an incredible story, and I'm so excited for our listeners to tune into this one.
Yeah, so grateful as well. I'm glad to be here. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, so let's dive into it. To start, can you tell us about your early years and what life was like for you growing up?
So I grew up on on what we call the council estates back home in England. You call it the projects. Very poor family, lots of love there. But yeah, it wasn't a tough life, but we lived in a hard area.
Mm-hmm.
So early on, at the age of probably 4 or 5, I was given my first guitar. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. And at the age of 9, I joined my musical family, uh, gigging every Friday, Saturday, Sunday at pubs, nightclubs, bars. It was so funny, 9 years old, playing the bass in the back. But it's also when I took my first drink uh, in Liverpool. There's a club in Liverpool we were playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always wanted to be a pro musician.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough. I have the what's called the addictive personality,
Mm-hmm.
and that means if I'm going to do something, I do it, and if I don't want it, I'm not. So I ended up at Abbey Road Studio. So I played with Elton John, David Bowie, Queen, all them great guys back in the day. But unfortunately, my alcoholism put a cease to that. I must be the only guy in the world that got fired from the music industry for being a drunk.
And you started drinking when you were 9 years old. You had
Yes,
your first
nine
drink.
years old.
And what
Yeah.
did that feel like for you when you had that first beverage?
It was the world just opened up to
Mm-hmm.
something I never knew before.
Mm-hmm.
So we was doing we do 2 hours, 45-minute spot. We come off for 20 minutes, we go back on and do another 45 minutes. The crowd was so big and I got stage fright. I
Yeah.
was a little kid, I didn't know. When I come off the break, my uncle
Mhm.
said, "Hey, drink this beer." So he gave me a beer, which I drank. All my
Yeah.
nerves went away. Everything was amazing. Got back on stage and thought I found something that's going to change the world for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And talk to us about how it kind of progressed from there, the alcoholism and the
Well,
drinking.
it was every weekend, of course, and then through high school, we call secondary school. Through high school, again, just drinking a weekend, and then I was lucky enough to get to college. No one's been to college in our family. I got to college, and then my drinking kind of really took off.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I finished college and started my first job, then it really, really started to get a grip and
Yeah.
did some horrible things under the influence.
Talk to us about some of those low moments for you, and what led you to start to realize that it was a problem.
Well, I never knew it was a problem till 14 months on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
living in bus shelters and stuff. I still don't think it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back, leaving the children, ages 1 and 3, in the cinema, where I drive 3 miles to find a liquor store, stabbing my wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me finish my bottle of vodka. I mean, it just sounds insane what
Yeah.
I went through, but I still didn't realize.
Right.
So, one of the lowest moments of my life. And I've been doing this for 30 years and I still
Mm.
get upset when I talk about it. But my wife left when I came back from Spain after the stabbing incident. I
Yeah.
had to leave because an attempted murder charge was put on me. She didn't die and case got dropped and I come back home. So she was waiting for me at the door with the children and the cases packed and she
Mm-hmm.
left. And I got hold of my attorney and I told him to get my children back on, now. So he went to the courts next day. I don't know what he did, but the next day he turned up with my children. ages 1 and 3 on the doorstep. Now, here's what happened. I took him into the front room. I sat him down in front of this television with a cartoon on it.
Yeah.
I went into the kitchen because I'm 2 days sober, by the way. I went into the kitchen and I thought, I'm just going to have one beer to celebrate having the children back.
Hmm.
2 days later, when the police kicked the door down and the children are not being fed or changed diapers for 2 days, I nearly killed those kids in a blackout. I've
Yeah.
been going to the liquor store several times. The police took the children off me. The Child Protection Service was there. The police was there.
Hmm.
The wife was there. Her mother. Now, my 3-year-old was walking down the path holding mummy's hand. I'm at the door in tears, absolutely aghast of what I just did.
Yeah.
One of the policemen were crying. And
Mm.
this is the lowest part, which when my
Wow.
daughter said to me, she said, Daddy, Daddy, please don't go. Then they
Oh,
walked down the path further and she
yeah.
turned around again and she said, Daddy, Daddy, please
No.
get better. And as they got to the gates, they opened the iron gate and she turned around one more time and she says, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking.
No.
And I
Wow.
couldn't do it,
Yeah.
Lauren. I couldn't do it. And weeks or months I was in a blackout, but I lost the house, causes, medical license. Parents won't speak to me. Friends disown me.
Mm-hmm.
Family. And I remember the first night living on the streets, and
Hmm.
my first thought pattern in that cold, freezing, pouring down with rain
Hmm.
night, and I'm sat in this bus shelter, and the first thought was, "What the hell? Where did that go wrong?"
Yeah.
But I still didn't think I had a drink problem, Lauren.
Yeah. And so many people may think it's a choice and that it's something you're choosing, but it's helpful for you to understand that perhaps that's not the case and how, explain what it was like and why you couldn't stop drinking.
So we're neuroscience specialists as well as
Hmm.
behavioral scientists and psychologists. So we've studied over the last 20 years about what addiction really is.
Hmm.
It's funny because 5% is addiction in the company now, and 95% is childhood trauma that we do.
Hmm.
But alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is alcoholics have a predisposition passed down from generation to generation. Is the only illness you can pass down. Everyone think you can pass heart disease. No, that's the methylation of the food
Hmm.
that we eat and the lack of nutrients pertaining to that.
Yeah.
Um, so what happens is three parts of the brain differ from birth to any other brain: the hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala. Now
Hmm.
let's take the hypothalamus. It's a very, very small part of the brain, but it's our survival instinct. It tells me as a baby that I need food and water to survive. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, somewhere along, and we don't know where, the hypothalamus to alcoholics, not drug addicts, they are made. And I'll explain that in a second. Somewhere along the line, this is why it's a disease. The hypothalamus, which is my let's survive part of the brain, turns around and tells me to drink alcohol only. And that's why I can go days or weeks without food or water as long as I was drinking alcohol. And there lies the problem, along with the allergy. So I'm actually allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. Now, drug addicts, 90% of people that come to us with a staunch heroin addiction starts in the doctor's office. So you cannot drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. It doesn't work like that. It just biologically, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You can abuse alcohol, but alcoholics, there's a big difference. With drug addiction, 90% of people that come to us with heroin addiction starts in the doctor's office. So they have what's called the addictive personality.
Hmm.
So you can take enough drugs to become addicted to that drug. And there lies the difference between the both. Everyone thinks it's the same. It's not the same. It shows up the same, but you can't seem to control anything.
Hmm.
Both are fully, fully, fully healable, and you can fully recover from both. But yeah, we just we had to research the hell out of it because Lauren, when I'm looking back and seeing the horrible stuff I did, nobody had an answer for me.
Right.
The doctor couldn't. Oh, here's what's happening, Rob.
Yeah.
He just said, "Oh, go to AA. You're an alcoholic." Now, alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. He can't say I'm an alcoholic. 10 DUIs do not make me an alcoholic. What
Right.
happens is when I put alcohol, the ethanol inside my body,
Hmm.
something different happens, and I cannot stop.
Yeah. So are we differentiating here between someone who is an alcoholic and someone who has a drinking problem?
Correct.
Hmm.
Alcoholism, like I say, it's classed as a disease. Hey, easy way to sell. If when you take the first drink, can you stop, guys? And secondly, can you trace three back generations where there's an alcohol problem? If you can't,
Hmm.
stop drinking. You're abusing the alcohol. Stop drinking. Get pull your
Right.
pants up. Let's best be dads. But if you can, and again, only self-diagnosed illness, then you're probably alcoholic and you have a serious, serious condition for which there is no
Mhm.
cure. But look at the bright side. There's no cure for food poisoning or the common cold.
Yeah.
But there are ways you can retrain the brain, redirect neural pathways, retrain them three parts of the brain,
Mhm.
and get a great life back.
Yeah, amazing. And we're going to get into that. But looking back at your story, it's easy to look at it and say, okay, you started drinking when you were 9. No wonder it escalated as it did. You started when you were so young and continued it. But you were born with a predisposition to be addicted to alcohol. And so I think that's something that's really important to understand.
Yeah, definitely. So when I took that first drink, Lauren, this is our studies, our trials, our tests over the last 20 odd years. It set off a ticking time bomb.
Hmm.
Now, friends of mine, I asked, when did you start drinking? Oh, my dad gave me a beer at 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 12. What was it like? Oh, it's horrible. I spat it out. It was hot. Not me. And if you're an alcoholic, listen, not us. It was like,
Mm.
this is it. And
Yeah,
now I can, when
immediately.
I was at school, I was chatting to, I was playing, I was amazing when I drank the alcohol, and I
Yeah.
was a different person completely.
Wow. And so, talk to us about how you turned your life around because from living on the streets to becoming where you are now, I applaud you because I know that that wasn't easy. So, I'd love to hear your story of how you started to turn your life around.
Let me set that up by saying that 97% of people in Manchester that live on the streets die on the streets. After 7 attempted suicides, and on 2 occasions, I was dead. I died twice on the streets in Manchester, and they brought me back to life. I hated them paramedics for that.
Yeah.
Hated them. One morning, I was walking down the business side of the centre, which means there's no people there, it's offices and factories only. I dropped down to my hands and knees. I remember it as if it was yesterday. It was pouring down with rain. I dropped down to my hands and knees. I was sobbing like a baby. The, the,
Mm.
the pain in my stomach because I'm sobbing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't crying because I'd lost my family and my money and my wife. I was crying because the first time, Lauren, in my life, I realized I couldn't stop drinking.
Mm.
I looked up to the sky as a staunch atheist. I was molested as a child by my priest. And I said these words: if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own.
Ah,
30
wow.
seconds later, guy walked around the corner. He'd missed his last bus home. He'd been walking for 2 hours.
Mhm.
He took a shortcut he'd never taken before back to his house, and he came upon me. And he
Mm.
says, can I help you? I told him my story. He said, I'm in recovery. I'm a Christian. Come back to the
Mm.
house. I went back to his house. I got showered for the first time in a year, get some good food. He said, you can stay here for as long as you like, Rob, but there's one condition. You need to come to an AA meeting with me every
Mm.
day. And I'm like, oh, I've been there. I hate them.
Yeah.
But it was a dry bed. So I went.
Hmm.
Now, here's the miracle, mind blowing stuff that happened. I heard a guy called John who announced himself as, my name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic. He talked from the book. He talks about God. After the meeting, I went over and said, hey, John, my name's Rob. Would you sponsor me? And he
Hmm.
said, no, but I'll be your spiritual advisor for a period of 12 weeks. I walked to that man's house, Lauren, every Wednesday. I left Derek's house at 6 o'clock. I got
Hmm.
to his apartment at 7. He wouldn't let me in before 7, which I thought was weird.
Yeah.
And then at 1 minute to 8, he walked me out. I did that for 12 weeks.
Okay.
After I left, he told me my life would change, that I would be sent to a far distant country, and my life will change from tomorrow. I said, John, that's impossible. I'm on a blow up mattress in Derek's basement. Nobody knows I'm there. The next
Hmm.
day, Derek comes home and goes, hey, there's a part time job going sweeping the floor. Do you want it? I said, yeah. So I
Hmm.
got my first paycheck. I bought John a little teddy bear, so all I could
Oh my
afford was a
gosh.
card. And I wrote
Yeah.
on the card, thank you, John, for introducing me to God because he took the compulsion to drink away. And I went back to his apartment, Lauren. And when I got there, the curtains seemed a bit dirtier than they were. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm knocking on the door, so excited, by the way, to give John this little teddy bear and tell him how well I'm doing. There was no
Oh.
answer. So the woman on the right hand opened the door and she says, "Can I help you?" And I said,
Mhm.
"Yeah, where's John? Where's he moved to?" And she went, "John." I said, "Yeah, your neighbor." And she said,
Yeah.
"Well, I've only been here 3 months and there's been nobody in that apartment for 3 months." So I let her close the door. She's drunk or whatever. Goes
Right.
around to the left side and banged on this big guy come to the door. "What do you
Yeah.
want?" He says, "Where's John moved to? Does he still live here?" I said, "What are you talking about? John who?" I said, "John, your neighbor, the guy next door to you. What's wrong with you guys?" And he went on to tell me that that apartment was derelict. If you walked into that door, you would drop a story down. It's been condemned for 12 months. Nobody's allowed to go in there. I come out of there going, huh. I went back to the meeting where I met John. I
Yeah.
walked in. This guy, chairman, "Robert, how are you doing?" I went, "You recognize me?" He went, "Yeah, you're looking good." I
Yeah.
said, "Thank goodness for that. Does John still come here?" And he said, "John who?" And I said, "The guy who was over near the coffee machine talking about becoming my spiritual advisor."
Yeah.
And he chuckled. And he said, "Rob, you was over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself. We thought you were praying." Never found that man. When I
Wow.
got wealthy, I put the best private detective
Yeah.
agency in Manchester. They
Yeah.
could not find him.
Wow. I cannot believe this story. And how long had it been since you had been in the apartment with him when you
two
went looking
weeks.
at it? About 2 weeks. So
Two
you knew
weeks.
you had been there. How can you, after all the years that have passed, how can you understand and how do you make sense of that event?
5 years of denial. That's
Uh,
crazy. Okay. But I still use methods he taught me. And then after 6 or 7 years, it was an angel. Too many
yeah.
coincidences in my life has happened.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, that uh, it, I was chosen to do what I do today
Yes.
because
Yeah.
of that. So I won't tell that story for 10 years
Yeah.
because I thought people might think I'm crazy. But when I started to share it, Lauren, people going, "Oh my goodness, I have a similar." Oh, I
Wow.
started to believe because what he taught
Yeah.
me, we do stuff now that nobody else does in
Uh-huh.
our industry. Nobody else does.
Yeah.
We're that strong in what I do. We're the only company in the world that offer a money back guarantee if you relapse after you finish with us while continuing our
Mhm.
program.
Mhm.
We have a 97, 98% success rate with 8,500 patients over 30 years.
Wow.
So something special happened there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see it as you said, angel, Holy Spirit, divine guidance. You were on this path and that was part of your journey. And I'm so glad you're here to share it with us today.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every time I tell that story,
Yeah.
I kind of believe it more myself.
Right.
It's like it kind of confirms.
I mean, I don't know how else to make sense of that or how else you could, and it's such a special, unique story. So I want to get into the science behind addiction and the
Oh, great.
role that you believe childhood trauma plays.
Childhood trauma is the gateway drug. End of conversation. It's
Mhm.
not marijuana, da da da. So we delved into the neuroscience behind childhood trauma, and we was aghast at what our trials and tests did. Is everybody has childhood trauma? 90% of people who are walking around today have not dealt with the childhood trauma, so they
Yeah.
have a life here. They
Mhm.
may be not succeeding, they might be succeeding, but whatever it is here is stopping them going because of the childhood trauma they still hold in the subconscious brain.
Yes.
So the subconscious brain, everything we hear, touch, feel from birth is stored there. Oh,
Mhm.
well, I forgot that. No, it's there.
It's there.
It's
Yeah, it's
definitely
there.
there. And that's what's causing the behavior that's, what we find women a lot of the time self-sabotaging relationships because father came home drunk many nights and got into a fight with mom. And
Mhm.
they believe that normal relationship. So they go out. And here's the biggest saying: we attract what we think we are worth. So the pattern continues. And she'll end up attracting the same guy that ends up beating her or
Mhm.
drinking too much. So we saw patterns from childhood trauma. We saw that, and here was a big one for me. This is my mum. How many
Yeah.
times have I told you, Robert, you can't go to college like your brother, you're too stupid?
Yeah.
Boom.
And we
Hit in
start
my
to believe.
subconscious brain for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
The problem with when people tell us stuff,
Mhm.
because babies are born with two fears: fear of falling, fear of loud noises. The rest is man made. So what we hear, we believe to be the truth. So when mum says, "Don't put your hand on that hot plate," we do it. Ah, mum's truth. So
Mhm.
what we see is how we feel. Watch a
Yeah.
sad movie, we feel sad. Okay, so we go through life listening to what people tell us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how many times have I been told you can't do it? Millions of
Yeah.
times. You're a waste of time. I've told you can't do that. What the hell do you think you're doing? So all that is stored up. And what happens in the subconscious brain is it drops over to the basal ganglia
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes our internal dialogue. Okay. So once we start our internal dialogue, based, by the way, on what he has commented about me, that internal dialogue will become a working part of the brain. And without clearing the childhood trauma, I will live there forever and I will die a sad person because I've not completed my life to the full. Most
Yeah.
people walk around 40 to 50% of their capability and capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Most people only breathe 30 to 35% of oxygen. The presence of oxygen equals the lack of disease. Every disease in the human body, including cancer, starts in a hypoxic area. So what we find is using neuroscience is this. Once we find some sort of connection, the mind over matter, the brain is matter. So the mind is energy and power. When that
Mm-hmm.
connects with another outside source of power and we clear our childhood trauma, our
Mm-hmm.
DNA changes.
Yeah.
Our
So
DNA changes.
is this what we speak of as treating the cause of addiction rather than the symptoms? Is treating the way that our brain has developed and our minds have developed due to childhood trauma when we began to form our identity?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And we
Yeah.
see this in every single case that we've ever dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Every single case we've ever dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So,
it's called enmeshment and learned behavior from caregivers.
yeah.
That's how we act. That's where we get our identity from.
Mm-hmm.
Most marriages that split up, the woman lost their identity years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they come to us trying to find their own identity. It's really, really, fascinating to watch.
Yeah. And Dr. Robb, how do we begin to rewire our brain pathways to overcome, limiting beliefs and behaviors?
So childhood trauma clear up using neuroscience, brain spotting, 9D breath therapy, psychology, EDMR, NLP, all the tools that we use today. But
Mm-hmm.
guys, listen, I'm going to give you 3 things right now that'll change your life tomorrow morning. One of the reasons why nobody has ever woke up laughing in the morning is lack of oxygen. Okay, it's the most important thing in the world, but we don't think it is. During a normal circadian rhythm sleep pattern between the hours of 2 and 5, we're at the lowest oxygen, our body is in repair. It's also when most people die of natural causes.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get up in the morning, nobody wakes up laughing, ever, 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 because no oxygen. When we get up in the morning tomorrow, guys, I want you to take, before you do anything else, 20 exaggerated breaths in and out. Do 20 of those. Hold on to the bed or sit down. You're going to go dizzy. Now
Yeah.
we're filling the body up with all oxygen with every cell in our body. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what's just happened is you've just snuffed out the subconscious brain for that day, and the conscious brain has taken over. Walk into the bathroom, stand 6 feet away from the mirror,
Mm-hmm.
and say, I love you 10 times. Do not do this while you're doing your makeup on, because when we do this, we see all our blemishes.
Yeah.
That's not how people see us. When's the last time you went out? Hey, Jimmy, nice to see you. We don't do that. So when you stand 6 feet away from the mirror, the
Yeah.
blemishes disappear. That's how people see us. Say,
Jeez.
I love you 10 times.
Yeah.
Looking straight at your face. If you're suffering from childhood trauma, this is going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Looking straight in your eyes and eyes. When you've done that, if you brush your teeth with your right, I want you to do a weep with the left, weep with the right, weep with the left, weep with the right.
Mm-hmm.
Go out tomorrow morning, compliment 3 people, and you just change patterns in neural pathways.
Wow.
The question you have to ask yourself, guys, is around 300 neural pathways
Mm-hmm.
every single day are destroyed. 300 neural pathways.
Mm-hmm.
What are you replacing them with? Bad habits, learned behavior, or
Yeah.
changed behavior
Mhm.
and internal dialogue?
Yes. The importance of starting to think differently and behave differently to rewire your brain into becoming the person that you desire to be.
The brain does not know the difference between reality and false.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe that you can do something
Mm-hmm.
and attach a feeling of what that feel like when you do, you can walk over and take that position.
Yeah.
And
And
it can't be that easy.
yeah. Yeah.
It is that easy.
We're overcomplicating it. I know you have a philosophy: visualize it, believe it, do it. Can you explain more about that to us in the context of recovery?
So let's look at a basketball court. Quantum physics tells me that I can be 10 places on that court at the same time. I
Mhm.
can be 10 all at the same time. That's what quantum physics learned, proper real science. If I visualize 10 Robs on that court, where would I want to be? Well, I've never played basketball, but I'm not silly. I know that quite well. If I get near the net, near the goal, I
Yeah.
receive the ball, I jump up and I throw it in the net. I'm going to be the hero of the game. That makes sense to me. Question is, how do I get there? This is the answer. You walk over and you take that position. You don't
Mhm.
beg for it. You don't crawl for it. You stand up and you walk
Yep.
over and you take it. It's as
Mhm.
simple as that.
Mhm.
And people do well. It's as simple as that. You can achieve anything that you want to, guys. And
Mhm.
years ago, Lauren, when I said this to people, they go, "Well, I can't be president of the United States." Forget your political views completely. We had a guy that ran for 4 years with no political experience whatsoever. Don't dare tell me that you can't achieve your dreams, because it's just not true. And if
Right.
you're in that mindset where you don't think you amount to anything, I want to apologize to you, because somebody's put that there.
Mm.
Babies are born with $1 million minds. Why do we end
Yeah.
up hanging around 10-cent minds?
Yes.
Learned behavior.
Yeah. Wow. And for those listening who are either really suffering in the trenches of addiction, or perhaps a loved one in their lives are really suffering, what's one piece of advice you would give that they could implement today?
Believe nobody's going to come knocking at the door and going, "Hey, here's the job, here's the kids back here." Believe that your identity is not what you think it is, and
Mhm.
believe that whatever you think your power is, quadruple it, at least quadruple that. That's your real power.
Mhm.
And take the only reason why it's one day at a time is 3 parts of the brain. It's reset every 24 hours. AA
Mhm.
adopted. That's not an AA saying.
Mhm.
Every day is a new day.
Yeah.
And if you listen, if you're really struggling, guys, if you're in the place that Laura and I just discussed,
Mhm.
that place where there's no hope, there's suicidal thoughts and all that stuff, listen carefully to what I'm going to say. Everyone thinks I'm crazy.
Mhm.
Listen carefully. 214-600-0210 is my personal cell
Mhm.
phone number.
Mhm.
Text me. And here's what we'll do. Text me. I'm really busy. I have lots of TV, radio, patients. I will text you back ASAP, and we will arrange a 20-minute pep talk that will change your life. And you know, if it doesn't, I'm going to send you $100 for wasting your time, because it's not as complicated as you think it is. It
Mhm.
really isn't. And I will
Mhm.
change your life in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Robb. And as we wrap up, I'd love for you to just give us a brief run through of what it would look like for someone to be part of your recovery program so they know what they could expect, getting help from you and this incredible program you've created.
90% of our work is telehealth. So we work all over the world. It's 1 hour a day for 90 days, 7 days a week, every single day. You'll spend time with me. You'll spend time with my psychotherapist. You'll spend time with my NLP coach uh, every single day for an hour. And within that 90 days, the brain chemicals reset and we can restructure the way you think. And we guarantee that we'll change your life, whether that be trauma, depression, addiction, PTSD, whatever the mental illness is pertaining to them topics, we can heal.
Yeah. Incredible. Thank you so much. And is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with today?
You know, guys, everybody thinks they have time, but you don't have time, guys. Moms and dads, how often have you said to people, 1 minute I'm waving them off to kindergarten, the next I'm waving them off to college? We don't have time. Most of the research we did with older people in hospice that were allowed to talk to, most of them relatives, we asked them one question: what did you not realize and what would you change? Or what have you taken out of your life? And they all said the same thing: I thought I had more time. Guys, you don't have time. So here's what I want you to do: date that girl, date that guy, buy that house, start that business today. Don't wait. See, if I'm on the couch tonight, I got a big bag of chips and a big can of Coke here, and I'm lying on the struts and I'm turning to my wife and I say to my wife, I'm thinking of going to the gym tomorrow. I'm not going to the gym tomorrow. I know it. She knows it. The dogs know it. 7.3 second golden rule. If I got up after saying that within 7.3 seconds, I'll walk to the bedroom. I get my sneakers and my shorts and my t-shirt in a bag. I walk over to the bag. I put it in the car or near the door when I'm going out tomorrow morning. There's a 95% chance that I'm going to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. We spend so much time waiting to make a change. The time is now. Thank you,
Time is
Dr.
now.
Robb.
Do it today, guys. Do it today.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Do it today. Now's the time. Where can our listeners find you?
So if you're listening and not watching, spell my name with two B's, ROBBKELOY.com is the website. Jump on there. We never sell anything on these podcasts. I just want to help one person differ. We have books and everything out there. Don't buy it off Amazon. If you want one, contact us on the website. I'll send you one free. I'll pay for all the postage and everything. Any Google, any search engine, Dr. Robb Kelly, and I'll come up and come say hi, guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Robb.